Here we are. It's a new year. It's the first Tuesday of 2021. But you know what we're about to do? It's another edition of the 2-2 podcast. Listen, I'm so glad you could join me for the very first one of the year. Aren't you excited? I know I am. Listen, it's going to be a good one. I'm excited for what is about to happen and what is about to come in this year. And I'm glad you are a part of the journey. So with that being said, you know the move. Grab your friends, grab your family, grab your coworkers. Grab those people you don't like as well. Don't forget your notebook, iPad, laptop, whatever you need to take notes. Let's have some fun. See you in a minute. Have you ever wanted to record a podcast but didn't know the way? Well, I've got good news. Let me tell you about something. It's called Anchor. And Anchor is the easiest way to record a podcast. Let me explain. It's absolutely free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. And it's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. So here's what I need you to do. Please download the free Anchor app or go to Anchor FM to get started. What's going on, everybody? Here we are. It's the very first episode of 2021. I have to say that I am excited about what's to come for this podcast and all entities of 2-2. We're going to have a lot of fun this year. We're going to do some innovative, creative, and brand new things in this year. But we can't move forward without celebrating again the amazing success that we had from April to December. In such an unprecedented time, we made history. We made some great connections with some great people, and made some great had some huge collaborative efforts in this year alone that have been amazing. Last year alone that have been amazing. But we are not done yet. We are not done climbing to the highest heights. We're not done doing what we do best. And that is growing and maturing and doing the necessary things to be great. And I say, let's do it. Let's get it done, y'all. Whatever that may be. Attack it early. I know we're only 5 days into the year. And I know we are still, we're still early in the game. And this is the first full week of the year as well. I know we're here early and we're still trying to recover and heal from a lot that went on in 2020, and we're still going through it, still going through the ringer and whatnot. But hey, in the midst of your healing, let's get to it. Let's work. All right. So thank you again for joining me today. Let's get right into it. So in 2020, it was hard, as you know. It was hard to work on a dream, a goal, your purpose. 2020 was mired and filled to the brim with turmoil, chaos, and uncertainty, the likes of which, and we can all say this, we're still feeling those effects today. And though some of us, and if I got that wrong, absolutely, I apologize. If most of us, though some of us or most of us saw success through the storm, what is often brought to mind, and maybe this is just me, are the things that we didn't or couldn't give full effort to based on the distractive and destructive nature of 2020. Distractive being that, we could not focus on what we needed to accomplish based on the fact of what we saw and what we continue to see going into this new year, with a lot of vitriol between sides, a lot of anger and vile mentalities that we are seeing even to this day, even 5 years into to a new year. A lot of things have been a lot of things that should have stayed in the previous year, better yet, the previous decade, have somewhat in some way carried over into this new season and this new decade. And, to be perfectly honest, it is brought upon distraction and destruction for a lot of us, chaos for a lot of us, even if we're not remotely or if we're not directly affected by it, it has brought some type of chaos and panic and sometimes, fear within us. And so, it was hard to accomplish anything, without dealing with everything else, or having to hear everything else, or dealing with what we saw and what we continue to see. But, if I could be transparent, in 2020, there were a few things that I worked on, and to be honest, I didn't give my full effort and attention to the details of them. There were a few things that I just, I had days where I went, oh, man, I really don't want to do this. Let me stay in my cocoon today. Let me stay in my bubble today and not work on what I need to work on. That is, that's probably that's probably what a lot of people would say right now about themselves, is they was just like, I don't want to do it. There's no way. But in spite of that, there were so many factors and so many excuses I could give for why the effort and the energy wasn't there. But I didn't want to. I said going into 2021 that I didn't want to carry those excuses and excuses or reasons why into a new year. I know we're still dealing with the ravaging effects of a pandemic, the ravaging effects of intolerance. We're dealing with a lot of stuff, and we do not dismiss that. I do not dismiss that whatsoever. But in the midst of the storm, this is for somebody right here. In the midst of the storm, we have to continue to trek through. God has not given us the spirit of fear, and we have to continue to focus and press toward the mark that we have been set out to get and to go to. And so this year, in lieu of resolutions and themes, there were 4 words that I tried earnestly and tried my hardest and my darndest to work on. And I decided that going into 2021, these 4 words were going to be things that I was going to work on daily. 4 words. And so we're doing a quick little series to kick off the year called I Am. And the reason I wanted to do I Am was simply because I wanted to go into this year declaring some things from my life. And also that I also believe that first words are very important. And solidifying who you are in the early stages of 2021 or early stages of a new year period is something that we should all strive to do. Sports teams, sports teams, they will solidify their identity early. They solidify their identity within the confines of practice and watching film and implementation of certain core values and certain mindsets. They start that early. That's the thing. We have seen that very, very often, that the mindset it takes a little time. Takes a little time, and takes a little bit of reclusiveness as well to build upon that. And it also takes a few other things as well to solidify your identity. And one of the main things, and we're going to get right into the 4 words in just a second, but I just wanted to lay the foundation for what we're going to be talking about for a couple weeks. One of the biggest things is working and building upon the small things. Building upon the small things. And being a steward of the small things that the things that oftentimes a lot of people don't think are great, but we have been called to be stewards upon the small things. Because if we can't be great stewards among the small things, we won't be able to be blessed with the bigger things, the great things. I had a conversation about that one time with somebody I know. And I said that if you can't be trusted with what you have, you'll never be trusted to gain something. You'll never be trusted to do well with something that you gain later on that's even better. You won't know how to, because you weren't responsible. You weren't responsible. You didn't treat the small thing as a big thing. And so we have to not only be stewards of the small things in 2021, but we have to learn how to celebrate the small wins, those wins that, other people don't think are that great. It ain't all that. You don't need to celebrate that. You ain't did much. You ain't did that. Some people will minimize the things that are already small, because they're not big it's not big in their eyes. It's not great in their eyes. And so you have to be willing to celebrate the small things that a lot of people pass by and a lot of people don't look at. And because once again, if you don't celebrate the small, you'll never be able to handle the big celebrations. And what that takes is the hidden work, that hidden work behind the scenes that nobody sees. And so you have to really be willing to take the time and make the effort in 2021 to celebrate the small victories and be stewards over the smaller things. I hope you're taking notes. I got a lot of stuff to talk about today, because I wanted to kick off this year just on the right foot, not yelling, not screaming, not doing anything like that. I just wanted to have a talk, just to talk. We just want to lay the groundwork. We want to lay the foundation of this year and make sure that we hit the ground running. We did a good job getting into the end of 2020, hitting the ground running and implementing some things. But let's continue implementing some things going into this year. All right. So those 4 words that we're going to talk about today. The 4 words that we are going to talk about today, here we go, are intentional, honest. And these are my 4 words. Whatever your 4 words are, please, write them down. I wrote 4 words, and I wrote questions that I'm going to add, that I want to ask myself every day. In order to make sure that I'm staying on the up and up and on the right path and holding myself accountable. And I should have added accountability. It should have been 5 words, but the biggest thing among all of these is accountability. Accountability. Am I holding myself accountable? Am I being my own accountability partner in 2021? Sometimes it is great to have it's great to have accountability partners that are your friends, that are your family, that may be your coworkers, but you have to learn how to be your own accountability partner, because you can't always be around them, and they're not always going to text you, and they're not always going to be going to call you. You know, because we all have lives, we all have things we have to take care of within ourselves, and so we have to learn how to be our own accountability partners within this year. Like I said, I wrote 4 words for myself and wrote questions next to them to ask myself, am I doing these necessary things? So here we go. Once again, here are the words: intentional, honest, authentic, and consistent. Again, if you're writing these down: intentional, honest, authentic, and consistent. And so the questions that I asked of myself, and I also posted this on Instagram just as a bit of a preview of what I was going to talk about today, are those questions. And I gave everybody an opportunity. And if you still want to participate in that post is going to stay up. That is on my personal page at Alex J Live. That is AlexJ_Live on Instagram. And I might also put this on Twitter as well. Twitter and Facebook. Well, I don't know about Facebook. Facebook ain't really hitting for me as far as the podcast is concerned. But definitely on Instagram for sure, on AlexJ_Live, and also 22_podcast. That is the word 2, the number 2, and the underscore podcast. So please check that out immediately. All right. And so definitely write your 4 words or if you just have one, if you only have a couple, write your 4 target words for this year. What are your 4 target words? I know I'm rambling, but here we go. All right. So here are the questions. First one, intentional. For intentional was, what do I mean to do? What do I mean to do in this year? What am I meaning to do that I put off? What have I outlined in this year? What have I outlined in this year that I didn't give full effort to last year? What do I mean to do this year? What is it that I put off that that causes me to say to myself, I refuse to put this off any longer. I've put this off for years and years, years and years. What did I put off and put on the top shelf to collect dust last year? 5 years, like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. What have I done? And what do I mean to do in this year to make sure that I don't do that again? So intentional. What is my level? We have to learn about the level of intentionality. And I did an episode on being intentional last year, early in the first season of this podcast. I did one. Please check that out. It's called Intentional, Making Moves and Meaning It. Check that out. It wasn't. I'll be honest with you. It wasn't my best work because I was still learning how to be intentional, even in that moment. And so, being intentional. What do I mean to do, and what is my level of intention of intentionality in this year? I gotta mean it. If I want, and you gotta mean it. If you want that relationship, you gotta mean it. If you want that marriage to work, you gotta mean it. You have to your moves. You have to mean it. You can't just say it in this season. We heard a lot of talking last season. We can't do the talking this year. We have to under promise and over deliver. Under promise and over deliver. We have to make sure that our actions talk more trash than our mouths do. We have to be intentional about our movement in this year. Coming out of an unprecedented and uncertain time, that's just what it is. We have to learn that. So what do I mean to do? The second word, honest. Am I being truthful? And there's two questions with this. Am I being truthful about who I am and where I am in life? And am I being truthful and am I being honest about the basis of the connections that I have? You're probably sitting here thinking to yourself, oh my gosh, he's talking about friendships and connections again in 2021. He's starting to get redundant. I understand. Yes, I know. Talked about it a lot. Maybe that is my MO. And you know, you don't want to get typecasted for anything, but that's just something that I really dealt with a lot in the past few years, and I felt like that I needed to help somebody that needed it, even in the midst of what I was dealing with. So again, I ask about the second word. The questions I asked were: am I being truthful about who and where I am in life? And am I being truthful and honest about the basis of the connections that I have? Am I being truthful about that? We don't want to walk in this year with an identity crisis. We want to walk in whether we are building upon our identity or we're discovering who we truly are. We must get rid of the identity crisis. We can't go through this year trying to be somebody else. We can't. God has made us unique. He gave us our own identity. And we have to learn how to walk in the trueness, in the truest form of our identity. We have to walk in that. And we have to be honest about where we are in life as well. We have to be you can't, it's tough sometimes to really just go, it's tough to kind of look at it and look at yourself and say, I'm not where I am in life. Because, you think we get a little success. Some people get a little success and think that's it. That's where it is. But to be honest, there's a lot more work we can all do, even in the midst of the success that we have. If I thought I was, the greatest podcaster in the world, I would have stopped after I got my first, I don't know how many plays on this podcast. So, yep, I'm done. I got as many as I needed to. That's it. But I said to myself, I am in a good place, but I'm not in a great place just yet. I'm in a place where I feel like I'm doing okay, but I'm in a place where I need to be better. I need to be honest. And we all need to be honest about where we are at that point. We're at a place where we are striving to be better. But we recognize and we understand that we have a long way to go. As LeBron said, well, Kobe said it first. And it is, it is a video that we often watch a lot. And we really saw a lot of it after his passing. And after the Lakers went to the finals, gained the opportunity to go to the finals. Their main thing was, and this was Kobe at first. Kobe said it on the reporter asked him, Hey, so you're up 2-0. You're not smiling. Are you not happy? Kobe says, what's there to be happy about? Reporter goes, you're up 2-0. Kobe says, and you've seen this, and this is the part that always hits me. The job's not finished. Is the job finished? See, in that moment, he was honest about what's going on. Yes, I'm up 2-0, but we could lose the next 4. We could have lost tonight. We could have lost the first 2. It's great. It's wonderful. I'm not smiling until I've won all 4 games, until we finish this series, until we've done what we needed to do. It's great. That's wonderful. I hate to be pessimistic, if you will, in this moment, that yes, I'm doing great, and I appreciate. It's like, yeah, we appreciate the celebration. And LeBron and them said this throughout the playoffs, mainly in the Western Conference Finals and in the finals when they were getting towards being close to clinching NBA championship. They just kept saying to themselves, and they said when they were being interviewed, job's not finished. And we have to be willing to take a mindset that, listen, I am at a great place. I am close to where I need to be. I am close to where I am trying to get. I'm close to that next level. However, the job is not finished. We have to learn how to be honest about where we are in life and who we are in life. Job's not finished. Boom. And then the third question within being about this word is, well, not even third. This is, second question is, am I being honest? Am I being truthful and being honest about the basis of the connections that I have? Am I being honest about the levels in which we are connected with people? You don't want to give certain levels to certain people. As I've said so many times before, you don't want to give certain levels to certain people that haven't earned it. And you have to be honest about the level of friendship that you are on, not just what other people are on with you, what you are with them. You have to make it known. You have to be intentional. You have to be honest about where you are. And if they don't give you a response, you know where you stand. If they don't give you a response, you know where you stand in this year. You have to be honest about that. We often find ourselves oblivious to the fact. We often find ourselves in a moment of being where we're gullible, or we're oblivious to the fact that we are not where we're supposed to be in this life. That we're not. The connections that we have are not what we think they are. It's sad. It's ridiculous. It hurts sometimes to find out that we are not where we are supposed to be with certain people. And it's even worse to ask. It feels bad. Let's go even further. When you ask of someone, where are we in life? Where are we? What is the level? Like, I need to know where we stand. And sometimes we have to learn that the best response is no response. Sometimes the best validity that we can get, the best validation that we can get, is when they don't respond at all. Because that shows that you weren't where you thought you should be. It was all a facade. And we can't deal with facades in this year at all, under no circumstances. All right, let's move on forward. Let's move forward to the third word, and that third word is authentic. Am I being real with myself about myself? And and number two, the second question is, am I walking in my truth, in my truth and my identity? See, am I walking in the identity that God has placed for me? And am I walking in the truth on what God says about me? Do I believe in what God says about me in this year? Am I being real with myself about myself? I don't want to have an identity crisis this year. Seeing being intentional, honest, and authentic kind of mesh together. They definitely, all four mesh together. But intentional, honest, and authentic mesh together. And you have to be intentional about being truthful and authentic and being real about yourself. You don't want to paint a picture of yourself that isn't authentic. You don't want others to paint a picture of you that's not authentic. You want people to be able to see you and see you and see you. If that makes any sense. You want people to be able to see you. When they see you, they see you. Not anybody else. Not what you portray yourself to be. Not what you portray yourself to be on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter. Not what you portray yourself to be on camera. Not what you portray yourself to be in a picture. Not what you portray yourself to be at a party. What I mean is, when you walk in who you truly are, and when you walk in who you are designed to be, what anybody else has to say about you, or what they had to say about who you used to be and what you used to walk through and what you used to be, they can talk. It's just talking to a brick wall. When you know you, whatever anybody else has to say about you and who you used to be doesn't really matter. I'm learning the value of authentically loving myself, and authentically knowing myself, and authentically knowing what God has designed me to be, and who God has designed me to be. I don't want to walk in anybody else's shadow. I don't want to walk in somebody else's identity. I want to walk in the fullness of my own identity. I want to walk in the fullness and the true and authentic form of my identity. I want to be me at all times, all day today. I'm determined to be myself. All day today. I heard one of my favorite ministers in the world. He's out of Texas. His name is Keon Henderson. It was an early sermon when I was first figuring out who he was and watching some of his videos. He was talking about being yourself. He's like, he said this, and there's a reason. He said the reason why a lot of us aren't being sought is we're seeking to be somebody that we're not. And then he said to turn to your neighbor and say, all day today, I'm determined to be myself. All day today, I'm determined to be myself. I don't want to be anybody else. I want to be me every day. I want to walk as me every day. I want to be me in a movie. I want to see the movie credits and see my name, and then it says myself. All day, every day. All day. Say that to yourself in 2021 when you wake up in the morning, and when you're walking through each and every day, when you're going to work, when you're going to school. I want you to say this to yourself when it feels like when you feel like somebody else is creeping up in you. You have to be willing to say to yourself, all day today, I'm determined, I'm encouraged, and I'm inspired, and I'm going to be intentional about being myself. Am I being real about myself, real with myself about myself, and am I walking in my truth, walking in truth and the truth of my identity, what God has called me to be? And finally, the last word, here we go, is consistent. Consistent. We talked about being intentional. What do I mean to do? We talked about being honest. Am I being honest about who I am? Am I being honest about where I am? Am I being honest about the basis of the connection that I have? We talked about being authentic and being real with myself about myself. We talked about these things. We talked about walking in my truth and identity, walking in your truth and identity. But here we go. Here's the part. And these all mesh together. Consistent. This is my fourth word, consistent. Am I doing the necessary things? Here it is. Not just once, not just twice, not just 3 times. Am I doing them over and over again? Not just daily, but sometimes you have to do the necessary things almost hourly. Maybe this is just me. But am I doing the necessary things over and over and over again to become all that I set out to be in 2021? Am I doing the necessary things? Am I doing the necessary things to be intentional about reaching my goals and fulfilling purpose and being who I'm called to be? Am I being consistent about being honest and truthful? Am I being consistent about being authentic at all times? I have to be real at all times, not just real with other people. I have to be real with myself. Because if I don't learn how to be consistently real with myself in this year, I will forever, sit in this bubble of identity crisis. I have to be consistent about that. And with being consistent about being intentional, honest, and authentic, is that you can't allow what you see, and you can't allow jealousy, and you can't allow what other people are doing to discourage you. You can't. If they're on a different level than you, so be it. Continue to run the race and run the race and go down the path that has been set out before you. You can't set out to be anybody else in this moment. You have to be you. You have to be consistent about being you. You can't walk and you can't allow jealousy to cause you to lose focus in this year. So are you doing the necessary things over and over again to be all that you set out to be in 2021? These are my goals. These are my goals. Amongst some of my goals, to be intentional, to be honest, authentic, and consistent, but also be a steward as well. One of my friends on Instagram wrote a list down of a few things himself. Accountability. Am I being accountable for all that I say and do in terms of how it affects others? And stewardship. And am I utilizing the things, no matter how big or small, as I mentioned earlier in this episode? But stewardship and accountability are two things that I definitely need to have a part of this list. I want to do 4 words to move forward, and to push forward into this year. But he had discipleship, stewardship, accountability, and being and attentiveness. And am I paying attention to what God speaks to me? Am I following the direction? And if I give him more attention to work than he's married, than the wife that he has, that God has blessed him with, is he just going through the motions, or is he going the extra mile? And so I encourage you, after you listen to this episode, or if you're doing it throughout this episode right now, I encourage you to listen to. I encourage you to write down your own words. Maybe 1, it may be 10, whatever that may be, whatever is laid upon your heart, whatever is brought to your mind, that is spoken to you, spoken to your spirit, in this going into the 5th day of this year. In the 5th day of this year, I encourage you to write those down and ask questions of yourself when you write those words down, in order to really remind yourself about what needs to be done throughout this year, at least through the first quarter. And then always be willing to make sure you are doing the necessary checks and whatnot, doing the necessary accountability checks in between time, whether that is end of day, end of week, end of the week, end of the month, end of the quarter, end of the end of year. So make sure you are doing the necessary things daily. If you want to be detailed, hourly, daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly for now. And then at the end of the year, boom. It's easier said than done. But I believe that this year we're going to be greater than we've ever thought we were going to be. And what we're going to set out to do what we planned to do last year. This year, we're going to do it. And let's get it done. So with that being said, I appreciate you guys. Thank you for joining me today. We will see you Thursday as we continue this series and this January kickoff, this New Year's series entitled, I Am. Hey, listen, thank you for joining the show today. Don't forget to follow the show page and my personal page. The show page is 22_podcast. That is 22_podcast on Instagram. And my personal page at AlexJ_live. That is AlexJ_live. Please don't forget the 22 podcast has merch. That's on 22apparel.threadless.com. That is 22apparel.threadless.com. See you soon.